Today's guest is Michael Qualls, a math teacher and the principal of Jacksboro School in Texas, and someone who lived through one of the most intense moments a school can face. Back in 2022, when a tornado struck Jacksboro Elementary and High School, Michael was there on the front lines, guiding students, supporting parents, working alongside bus drivers, police, chiefs, and every single person who stepped up in that moment. His story was powerful enough that Discovery Channel featured him in the eye of the storm, and today he is sharing that experience with us. Michael, welcome to the show.
Sure. My name's Michael Qualls, and like Dominik said, I was the principal in 2022 at the elementary school here in Jacksboro. I've been an educator for over 20 years. This is my 21st year, and I am now a math teacher here at the local high school. Have moved over campuses and have recently got out of administration about 3 years ago. Enjoyed teaching kids. Love my community here in Jacksboro, and just really looking forward to continuing to help kids how I can in public education.
Currently, anything fun happening outside of teaching?
Yeah, so we have a lot of traditions here in Jacksboro. So one of those traditions is in the fall. We're very heavy into sports, whether that be volleyball or football, cross country. We also are proud to, we have a very successful band, a cheer program, an FFA program. I hate to leave any of them out, but our kids are very successful. So I enjoy, I have a part-time videography business where I go around and video kids, and just recently started that this last year, and I just really enjoy capturing those moments from those kids, and we've had a lot of really great moments. Our community here in Jacksboro just celebrated 150-year birthday of the town. So like I said, a lot of tradition, a lot of history here in this community, and we've been able to capture that and celebrate that a little bit this year. All the activities that you see in town, like the parades, the school events, the basketball games, the football games, everyone in our community follows it. They come to it, they enjoy them, they talk about it at the local restaurants. So it really does, it's the heartbeat of our community, the activities that go on at the school, because kids are who we like to promote, and kids are who we like to focus on here in this town, whether it be the local churches, the families, the businesses. We like to celebrate kids here. So really proud of the way the community supports our youth here in Jacksboro, and our youth's very successful, which makes it fun and keeps us very busy.
Now, if we would go back through the time, there was a regular day, you was teaching, you had a sudden tornado warning. What happened exactly that day? If you can describe it a little more for us.
I'll never forget that day for the rest of my life. At the time, I was in my office. I actually, that morning, my wife had told me, hey, when we get home later tonight, we're going to have to park our cars under the carport because there's going to be bad storms. My wife says that a lot, so I didn't really think anything about it. Well, I was in my office, and I remembered that statement my wife made, and I thought, just in case there was ever a tornado, I need to probably get some stuff out to my staff, like here's the steps, here's what you need to go over with your kids. That day I sent that out right toward the end of the school day, actually, and I didn't know at the time that God was already preparing me for what to do by going through it before it actually came. And preparedness is probably the one thing that I've learned from this situation. And so what happened was, I walked out of my office after sending that, and somebody had come into the office. One of the nurses at the nursing station said, hey, I just got a warning for a tornado. I said, seriously? I haven't got that. I looked on my phone, I didn't have anything. And so I got on the phone, I called the superintendent. We were already dismissing at the time. We had kids that were lining up to go on the buses. We had kids lining up to go to the cars. Parents were already lining up to pick up their kids. So I called the superintendent, and he was like, I don't see anything either. Let me call the local chief of police and the emergency management and just see if that's true. And so I got off the phone with him. I went about my business, getting kids ready for dismissal. And he called me back. He said, yeah, we just got a warning. There's a warning. And I think it was off a little ways, maybe Graham or PK Lake at the time. he said, let's go ahead, we're gonna hold the kids. We're not going to load the buses. We're gonna take caution. We've actually already, I think they went ahead and dismissed the high school kids that drove so that they could get home before the storms came. And then the parents who were there to pick up their kids, we began allowing them to take their kids home so they could get home to safety before the storm came. Well, when I went out there and we were helping load kids, I began to notice that things around began to change. And some of my staff there at the school began to tell me, hey, we've been getting some texts and messages that this actually might be getting closer to us here in Jacksboro. So we made the decision, we're like, hey, I tell you what, let's go ahead and let's just get all the kids, because we dismissed out of the gym. The kids were already in there before the warning even came, or we're on their way down there. So we got them all out of the gym and we put them in the safe hallways that we're blessed to have here in our community to help keep our kids safe. And then I told all the parents, I said, we're not gonna load any more kids. We've got a bad storm coming. You could tell that the environment was beginning to change. And then we began to just getting parents in and told them to come into the hallway. Well, within minutes, things really started to change. The wind changed direction. The color of the sky turned a green look. And what ended up happening is I went, my last check, I had another staff member with me, Mrs. Hammond. She was down there with me helping me get parents in, and she had made the comment like, I'm gonna stay down with the parents. I said, well, I'm gonna go down and get the key so that we can lower. We had already lowered all the kids in. All the kids were safe, and got back to, I was running down the hallway to actually close the hallway safe door for where all the parent stuff were, and that's when it hit. And that's where the video, you'll see me running down the hallway after making sure all the other kids were where they needed to be and trying to get to the parents, and it just hit. Pushed us down the hallway, felt a huge explosion behind me, pushed me. I mean, literally felt like something pushed me. Went down the hallway, and then there was just a strong wind right back. I got choked up on insulation. I had scratches and cuts on my leg from where the insulation, and I remember we all kind of ducked in to the spots in the hallway where they were like out of the way of the debris. And I mean, it's hard to remember. There was probably 40 or 50 people in that hallway at the time, and it was mainly just parents and kids of those families who were already out of school, had already been dismissed, and they came over to get their elementary kids, but we didn't allow them to leave. After it kind of went by, we were like, oh my gosh, like this, is everybody okay in this hallway? Everybody in the hallway was okay, that where we were. And then it was like, we got to get to the kids. So we kind of had to move some debris. We had to help some people get there. We went in there. And that was at the moment that I realized how many people were still actually in this building. You know, you mentioned 400. I think it was about 300 or 400 people. Once you took the 50 parents down there in my end and then the staff and students, it probably was about 300 or 400 people in there. I remember I went outside, or the chief of police came, checked, he says, everybody okay? I was like, everybody check the person beside you. Please, if someone's hurt, let me know so I can get them the help they need. We had very minor injuries. We had some that were cut, some that were very scared and panicky, but God really protected us that day. And he gave us the wisdom to make the decisions that we needed to at the times that we needed to, and it was by the grace of God that no one was hurt or injured. And then we went outside, and our transportation director, Mr. Sanders, had all the buses at the elementary. They're waiting for us. I don't remember how many bus loads. I know that I think here in Jacksboro we probably run 7 or 8 buses, and I know that they were all called to the middle or to the elementary, and they bused us all over to the high school. There was probably 5 or 6 bus loads of people, you know, and those buses hold, you know, 50, 60 passengers. So that's why I was kind of like this. There was probably 300 or 400 people in there. And man, just the look on the kids' faces, the look on the kids' parents' faces when they came to get their kids. We were just so lucky and so blessed that we all survived that day. truly was the scariest day of my life, and I'm thankful and blessed that we can sit here today and actually talk about it, and everybody was okay. Yeah.
You literally like a local hero because what you have done. What was going through your mind that time?
So after we got everybody where they were and they needed to be safe, and I ran down to grab those keys. When I turned around, you can see in the video the papers on the wall that hang down, they all went up. And I remember that because when I was running down the hallway, I was like, I gotta run because this feels weird. And like there was a noise that I heard. We had actually ran outside a couple more times to try to get people to come in before it came. The last people that were getting there late or getting there, and there was already, you could kind of hear like almost like a humming sound. I also popping in my ears. I remember that. But yeah, when I went to grab that key after making sure that door was closed and running down to the other end of the hallway, that's when I realized, and then when that stuff came down on me, that was a moment that I hope I never have to go through again, because it was just fear. It's just immediate. Like, I hope everybody's where they need to be right now so that they're safe, and I hope that we did everything that we could have. We obviously learned a lot from that day. How many tornado warnings and watches have we all been in? And sometimes we're just like, oh well, that wouldn't happen here. And from somebody who actually has lived in it, I would tell you it can most definitely have. If there's a warning or a watch, you need to pay attention to it. And we all know that a watch is like, hey, you need to be prepared just in case. But when that warning came, we started to take action. There were some things that we learned that we probably would do different, but most importantly, in the grand scheme, we did everything we were supposed to that day with the knowledge that we had in order to keep people safe and alive. And that, you talk about being a hero. Sometimes I don't really like that word because it wasn't just me. I did not protect the kids that day. There was a staff there doing things, and a group of teachers and parents too that were in there that did more than I could have ever done that day. I'm just one person. I was running down a hallway with a key in my hand with that stuff coming down. You can imagine there were dozens and dozens of adults consoling children who were afraid, protecting children, holding doors so that they wouldn't fly open. I heard that story. First responders who responded there that day, the bus drivers that day. Like, I just happened to be in the position of principal that day where we were able to protect people and keep them safe. And for that, I'm blessed. But to call myself a hero, I don't really look at it that way. I look at it as we, as a staff, did our job that day to protect kids. And that's what we do as educators, is we always try to protect and keep kids safe. And I'm just so thankful that God, like I said, gave us the wisdom in the moments to do that like we could. I will tell you that I also learned that day that, like I told you, we dismiss out of the gym. So that's where we all go to. Both of the gyms in the area that we suffered damage were both destroyed. So I would tell people that if there's ever a tornado warning or a tornado don't go to a structure that's very large and open, because those two areas were the parts that were damaged. We obviously were not in those areas, and no one was injured or hurt, but those are areas that we spend a lot of time in at that time of the day. So go through your emergency response plan, know the places that people are, and get them to the places that they need to be that are safest given the circumstances. And what I learned for myself that day is when there's a warning, you take action immediately, because, and we did to the best of our ability and knowledge, but like I said, we were getting warnings on some phones but not others. So it was very inconsistent at the beginning. And when you have parents who are like, hey, we hear the weather's on its way, we want our kids, and they're there right there with their kids. When we got to the point where I had to tell them you can't take your kids anymore, that was also a tough decision. But in the end, they knew that they were safe too. And I can't say it enough. God just really protected us that day. And I have to, if I don't say anything else about this today, I really truly want the staff that day of adults to know how important they were that day. I know that me being the principal sometime and me getting interviewed on the Discovery Channel, and a lot of people think, oh, Mr. Qualls, the hero. That day would not have happened like it did, and those kids wouldn't have been in the position they were to be safe if it wasn't for other people that I mentioned earlier. And so I really want to lift them up and make sure that they get the recognition as well that day, and the parents there that were there to help us too. So
Big appreciation, like a teamwork.
it was a teamwork to a T. I tell people all the day that God gave us the wisdom and the knowledge and the courage that day to make decisions that saved lives. And to me, that's what you guys do as weathermen and storm chasers, and like you were talking, meteorologists, people who put that out, emergency management, first responders. Like, we're all connected when it comes to weather, right? Because we all have the same goal in mind, and that's to protect people. But we got to trust each other and lean on each other. And but yeah, it takes a team, it takes a village. And I was very blessed to have a team that day at the elementary that just totally, they were the heroes to me. If anybody considers me to be a hero, I would tell you that is a reflection of them. They are the true heroes, not me. So yeah, true teamwork that day. Lots of heroes that day, inside and outside that building, not just me. So yeah.
Based on that, what you said, that you have learned so much about safety. If you could speak to other teachers or other people at the school, what would be your recommendation? What the safety plan would look like, you think?
Yeah. So I'm glad that we all were safe that day and that we were all able to learn from that day. Like I mentioned earlier, when you get a warning, take action immediately and follow the plan that you put in. And so when it comes to a plan, I would have places in your school. For us, we have safe hallways. We knew exactly where to go, and we knew how to get there quickly. So that helped us that day to make sure that kids were safe. The other thing that schools, we have improved here at Jacksboro since then is radio communication. Because that day we were leaning on our phones. Well, if you think about it, with weather coming in, telephone poles get knocked down, towers get knocked down, communication becomes an issue. So finding ways to communicate other than your phone and email and computers is a huge thing that we learned that day we had to have. So now we have radio communication that we can actually communicate with transportation, we can communicate with first responders. They all have channels at each campus that they can communicate with. So forms of communication is so important. And then have a trusted source that you can call. Like we had that day, we had our chief of police who we could call, and our emergency management team here in Jack County that was able to give us the information we needed to know at the times to move kids to safe areas to keep them safe. So those would probably be my three biggest things, is having a plan and responding to it immediately when you have a warning. Number two, having great forms of communication set up ahead of time. And then number three, trust the people that do what they do, and use the knowledge that they have and the wisdom they have to help you make decisions. That's probably the biggest things that I've learned.
Yeah, I think it's like a chain reaction.
Yeah, and I will tell you guys that when it actually happens, you're going to have a fear come over you unlike any other. And fear can cause you to not make the right decisions sometimes. And that's why I was telling you that day there was so much that we were thankful for, that decisions were made that were correct. But having that plan in place eliminates the fear and anxiety from causing you to not make the right decision at the right time that you might need to. Yeah.
Is there anything that changed, or how you're approaching to the life in general?
It did change me a lot, and a lot of people might not know this about me, but and I think I've talked about this a little bit, but I struggled at the days after. You know, I worried about what if we didn't do this, what if we didn't do that. You know, as you look, I invite people to use other people's situations to learn from, to make those plans. But even when we were able to sit down and go, man, what's some things that we could have done to improve? I struggled a little bit, and I actually, and I want people to know that this is okay and this is perfectly normal from dealing with the severe weather. I saw it in kids and myself where we had some fears afterwards, some anxiety afterwards. And I had to go talk to somebody. I had to talk to a counselor and get some help to actually process what just happened, because I remember that night when I went home, I don't know if I slept a whole lot that night, and the adrenaline was so strong that day that you could hear, or like you could feel your heartbeat and your whole body. And it was trauma, right? So these storms bring trauma. So it brings up a good point, Dominik, that after a storm, even when there's not loss of life, people experience trauma that day, and they needed to receive the help that they needed. We really wanted to make sure in those days and weeks and months after the tornado at the elementary, we wanted our kids to know how much we love them. And we wanted to pour our hearts and souls into them and give them fun for a few days. And so I think the one thing that I learned was how quickly life can change, how quickly, you know, the decisions that I make as a leader could impact and affect other people. And I really began to learn that each and every one of us have, all we have are each other. So here in Jacksboro, I had my teachers and my staff. They had their kids. I had my own kids in that elementary school that day. Thinking about that they were in there, and those teachers saved their lives while I was out taking care of other people at the time. So if you ask me what changed that day, and does it change your outlook on life, I'd say yes, it does. I think trauma can do that to you. But I learned so much that, you know, these kids, the kids in that school and the teachers in that school that day, I already knew they meant a lot to me, but after that, I knew that we needed to do anything and everything we could do to keep them safe. And we had a lot of fun in the days and weeks after that. We had some celebrations. We had some fun. We ordered some inflatables. We had a celebration day. I mean, we did a lot of things that, you know, we just really wanted to celebrate kids. I also remember something else I want to mention: the communities around us, the local communities around us that came and just poured their hearts and their love onto us, because we had to move stuff from the elementary to a church and a Masonic lodge and have school there and then move back. I also remember therapy dogs. Remember, we had therapy dogs provided for our kids and our staff members after that. So like I said, it didn't just stop after the tornado. You know, after that, the trauma that was caused that day, there's some of us that still deal with it today with fear of storms. Me personally, I don't have any fear of storms, but I would say my anxiety was more from a leadership perspective, that my decisions that I make do have an impact on other people's lives every day. And that's a lot to carry sometimes. So I would just invite those that are in leadership to always stay in the know, always continue to learn and continue to plan, so that when that time does come, even when you're afraid and things are chaotic around you, you still make the right decisions because of the training that you have. You know, you probably could talk to people in all business aspects, especially maybe in things like first responders, maybe military. You know, they probably all have plans ahead of time before they get into chaos, because, you know, like I said, you don't know what happens to people when they have fear or they're afraid. They, you know, the mind is a very powerful thing. So just training yourself to be ready, and that way you're making decisions based on your training. Your training, that's what I'm trying to say. Training is so important. Practice them too. I had some teachers telling me that day when I sent that email out to them, some of them were already out there in the hallway, and they actually were going over their kids what to do if a tornado were to come, and that was an hour before it actually got here. So, you know, and we had practiced tornado drills and fire drills and stuff like that before, but nothing could prepare us for what we were going to have that day. So
We had a talk about the health, emotionally, spiritually, physically. When it comes to kids, what they was going through.
yeah, so like mentioned earlier, you know, trauma, we experienced trauma that day. You know, the kids, not only did their school get damaged and their home, but we had some kids that lost homes that day, and some kids whose best friends lost their homes, and people were displaced, and people had to move into RV parks, people had to move in with other people. It impacted us in so many different ways other than just what happened in that school that day. And so a lot of kids became fearful of the cause of what, you know, happened to them. And so what we really had to make sure and focus on was, okay, which of these kids were impacted, and what is some of the things that we could do to maybe help them get through this. So we actually had storms that happened after that. You know, we had there were times where I remember we had to take cover because of a tornado warning, and because of what we learned, of course, as soon as we got the warning, boom, we were all in there, and those kids immediately had flashbacks. You know, so flashbacks is something I think that comes up. And so what we really try to do, communication, like I mentioned earlier, there's another part of that, of being open with the parents and open with the kid, and just giving them an opportunity to talk about their feelings and to share what they're going through, because we did have a lot of kids that were impacted and grew afraid of storms. So getting to just help them process through that and understand that, you know, it's okay to be afraid. I was afraid that day, you know, but what do we do when we have that fear? And that's where courage steps in. When you're afraid, what can you do to courageously overcome that fear? And you might not be able to overcome it, but you can definitely, you know, learn how to cope with it. And like you and I were talking about, you know, we live in a society now where people, I think, are talking more about mental health. People are more open about, like, instead of saying, oh, don't worry about that, or you're just, like, no, we truly saw these kids and the impact it had on their community, and we understood them. And I think that helps too when you're having anxiety as a kid, is that you have people around you, adults and teachers and counselors and first responders, people in the community who understand what you went through. And I think we all became closer together. I know I became so close to so many people after that day. And I hate sometimes that tragedies or issues like this are the cause to bring us all closer together. But I think the reason for that is because it reminds us how important we are to each other. So we wanted the kids to know after the trauma they experienced that they are loved, their feelings are valued, and that whatever it is that we have resources to and that we have available, we want to get it to them. And that's what I would tell anybody in school leadership with your kids is, you know, just really have open communication and be willing to talk to them and get to understand them, because everybody responds to trauma differently. And I think that is something else. We had over 500 kids enrolled in school that year. That's 500 different kids' responses to trauma. And so the only way that you can get that or respond to that is through communication. If you don't talk about it, then no one knows how to help you.
It just stays there and no one knows what you might be going through.
That's right. And like my kids, I believe they were in kindergarten at the time that happened, and they were 5. So if I didn't get them the help that they needed to respond to their trauma at 5, they could be dealing with that when they're 45, like me. I'm not 45 yet. I still feel young anyway. But it's very important that you start responding to it and trying to get them help right then, so that it doesn't carry on forever and ever. But I pray a lot too for our kids, and I pray for those who are impacted by trauma, that God will put people in their paths, and that God will surround them with comfort, and that God will just send people to them that will give them the help they need too. And I think that is something that we don't do enough of in our world, is pray for other people, that if they are struggling, we talk about at church all the time that God knows what we want even before we ask Him. So if that's the case, then we need to pray that He puts people in front of them that allows them to get the help that they need, even when they don't know they need to ask for it. So that's an important part of this too. Is a lot of prayer, a lot of communication, and then community. If your community's ever been impacted by this, by any situation of any trauma, I go back to Scripture. It says, God is near to the brokenhearted. He comforts those who mourn. So like, if people are struggling with stuff, like, be near to them, draw near to them, be accessible to them,
Support them.
yeah. And it doesn't have to be with words. You could just be there to hug them.
Exactly, yeah. Be there present.
That's right. And that was one of the things we had. Like I said, we had therapy dogs that came in, and that might seem like such a little thing, but it was not at the time. Every kid loves a dog, and those dogs, think about it, those dogs didn't say anything to those kids. They didn't have the right words to say, but their presence gave those kids comfort. And so it's kind of sad or silly to say that we can learn a lot from a comfort dog, but it's true. That's why we call it man's best friend, right? Because they're there for you no matter what. They don't
No
judge
matter
you,
what. Exactly.
right?
Anything else you would like to add, maybe for people, for teachers, for schools, for whether enthusiasts, storm chasers, or anyone?
I can tell you this. I know we have a local storm chaser that I've been in communication with. He actually shared the Discovery Channel story. He said, "Look, I saw you on here, and what you guys do is so important." And I know now that when you guys chase a storm, you're taking a risk every time, because we were in the storm that day. We were not chasing it. The storm just came towards us and it hit us. For you guys that actually get out there and chase it, so that not only you can provide the information that people need to be safe, but so that you can learn more about it, I do want to tell y'all that I appreciate y'all, and I see the value in that now because of what I've been through. People who are going to school to study meteorology and weather, we need more of them, because there's so much that happens around the world, and phenomena that we probably still are trying to learn more about. So I encourage people to do that. And then The only thing I have left to say is that once again I just thank God more than ever that He kept us safe and that He kept us from any serious trauma of loss of life or serious. We had people that were injured that day and had to go to the hospital to get, you know, help for minor injuries, but I know that day was a God thing, and I will forever just give all glory and honor to Him. And you know, we were just all in positions that day to help make the right decisions, and I just thank God for filling us with the Holy Spirit, that He helped lead, guide, and direct all of us. And then I just want those to know that might still be impacted by the storms they've been through. If no one's ever told you before, you know, there are a lot of people that love you and care about you. And if you're going through something, go talk to somebody. Because I had to. You know, and people looked at me as a principal like, man, that guy, you know, ran through a tornado. He's big and tough and strong. I reached a breaking point too. And I had to get help. Everybody does. So even when people might see that they're strong, they're not. And then I'd say the other thing too is empathy is so important in our world today. You know, just you being conscious of what other people are going through. So like if there's a storm, you know, and you're not scared, but there might be somebody there close to you that is, you know, talk to them, comfort them, see if you can help them. You know, have some empathy for other people too. I learned that through this as well. So many valuable lessons, and I thank you, Dominik, for allowing me. It helps me to talk about it. I learned through this process that actually was a good healing process for us to actually get out and share our story. And I just want to tell the community of Jacksboro and the surrounding communities here in North Texas, this will be the last thing, is how proud I am to live where I live. Because we have some of the most selfless, most caring, would go to battle with you, you know, kind of people here. And I just appreciate them supporting each other and staying close to each other when we go through stuff. Because I know we'll always go through things. We have been through things here recently and even since the tornado. And I just want them to know how proud I am of them, that they truly positively impact people all the time. So keep fighting the good fight. You know, I always tell people my favorite scripture is do not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time you'll reap a harvest if you don't give up. So I encourage people to just keep doing good, keep learning, keep talking, and keep doing good, because in the end, good things will happen to those who work hard and have a good heart and want good for other people. The end result will in the end be good.
Michael, thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome, Dominik.
Thank you for joining me today. It was awesome debate and conversation. We have covered so much, and I hope to see you soon in the future or talk to you in the future.
Yeah, I look forward to following you and seeing, and good luck to you. And I'll be praying for your future as a storm chaser and whatever you might get into. I think God's gonna bless you, man.